Welcome to the next broadcast of On Higher Ground, Ambassadors of Change and Transformation. Here, our audience can meet extraordinary people who specialize in changing lives, of showing we flawed human beings how to modify our beliefs, discover our real power, alter our ineffective ways of thinking, and supercharge our motivation. In their work, they aspire, with our help, to enable us to discover our true mission, discern our most sacred dreams, and get on track for the lives we were born to live. These ambassadors of change have often been brought to their vocation by having to face extraordinary situations, great personal challenges, and intensive self-scrutiny before they can bring us to the higher ground where we deserve to be. This is Johnny Bluestar, your host on Higher Ground, a new show presenting professionals we call ambassadors of change and transformation. These are coaches, speakers, and other authors whose business in life is to help their clients or audiences perfect their lives in critical, impactful ways. Our guest tonight is Angie F.A.T.E, a lady I've grown to greatly respect for a number of reasons. This first interview will focus on her background and the way she persevered against many external and internal odds to find her way to eventually help hundreds of broken families climb out of an abyss, violence, hopelessness, and despair, the very elements that marred her childhood happiness, but also marked the way to a remarkable transformation, which we will discuss in this program, which we have titled The Calling and the Promise. Hello, Angie. How are you doing today?
Hello, Johnny. I'm doing amazing. So happy to be here with you.
Well, thank you. And I'm happy to be with you because I consider you an extremely amazing, interesting person who's actually sort of the embodiment of why I'm putting this show together, finding people involved in helping people transform their lives in some really definitive, positive way. But I think it should start out with your name, because your name is very interesting. It's Angie F.A.T.E. Angie F.A.T.E. Now, tell us about that name and what it means.
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you. I'm very humbled to know that. We just said thank you. I'm extremely humbled to know that. And yes, it's fate. F.A.T.E. or period. It stands for faith, armor, trust, everything.
Yeah.
That's where it starts from.
I mean, really, when I first encountered you, that gave me a little bit of a shock, just because I didn't know what it meant. But I'm always interested in destiny. And that seemed to be like that. What your name has several levels of meaning, I believe. In fact, yes. Is it not true that you feel in a certain way you were destined to do the work you do now?
Yes, very true. Yeah, yes, I do. You know, it's funny how things start off because at first you don't feel like you're destined. You know, right. It's just you just feel like you're in this ball of confusion, and then it finally hits you when you're like, okay, wait. Okay, I could clearly hear you now. You were right the first time. Okay, this is why I'm here. Okay, got you. So at first it doesn't feel like it, but eventually the voice gets clearer.
Yeah. And in your case, it got very clear, didn't it?
Oh, extremely clear on the fact that I want to say that I'm a very stubborn, hard-headed person when I first heard it. So yes, it had to get to the point where it had to be very clear for me. Just on many different occasions and levels, of course.
It seems like as you move forward into your own transformation, my transformation, everybody's transformation, things do get clearer. And the one of the elements of this is synchronicity, where you have a series of coincidences that seem to be much more than coincidences, but they couldn't be connected in any logical way. And these are like signs. And so sometimes that happens on the spiritual path, and it helps define your journey. You're coming from a very interesting background, and what you do is very interesting. But before we discuss what you do, tell us where you come from, what your life was like from in the very beginning.
So I am Chicana. That means that my parents were born, both of them, in Mexico, and I was born in America. I was born in Oakland, California. And then I just went from Oakland to Glendale, from Glendale back to Oakland. And I just kept moving back and forth until finally I joined the military. Uh-huh. Now, the back and forth was because I was a troubled youth. So, but yes, that's where I come from. I do know 2 languages. I do speak them, write them, spell them. I don't want to say perfectly, but enough to get around.
What was your childhood like as a troubled youth, and why was it troubled?
So, what was it like? I want to say troubled because I honestly want to say wholeheartedly that I had parents that were broken, which in return, you could only create what you are. And there were troubled individuals. My biological mother, I didn't know much of her. So, Johnny Show would be the first one to know. I just reconnected with her after 22 years of not hearing from her.
Really? When was that?
I want to say about 2, 3 weeks ago.
Really?
Yes. So
That is amazing right there. Wow.
yes. So as I'm speaking about, my mother was only a big dark circle for me because I never knew anything of her. I never knew what happened. I never knew what it was of what. I just knew that I ended up in a household with my stepmom, my biological father, and some beautiful siblings that I love to this day. There's nothing I wouldn't do for them. But in that environment, like I said, my biological dad and my stepmother were broken individuals. As it couldn't have been any harder on me. I didn't understand a lot of things. And then it made it even difficult because I was in a society where English was the primary language. And yet my household spoke Spanish.
Ah, I see. Well, can you be a little bit more specific by what you mean by broken? I mean, what was it actually like? Can you say a little bit more about it?
Broken meaning I don't believe they knew how to properly discipline. I believe that with their discipline, it instead of, because there's a big difference between teaching a child a lesson and actually punishing them. Now, I believe that was punished for every single little incident that I did because, of course, if you don't know better, you don't do better. So, for example, a very small example, I wasn't able to get good grades for many reasons. I want to say many reasons, but many of one, which I couldn't get help at home. So instead of, helping me or putting me into programs to help me, the logical, typical Mexican family is hitting you. So hitting became very something natural for them. I mean, I'm pretty sure that a lot of people know that Mexican women, wives, and they get married into this marriage where it's machismo. And sometimes beating comes in the picture. I didn't understand anything but pain.
So what kind of like associates or friends did your family have? Was there any kind of outside positive influence?
Well, looking back now, right? Looking back now, turning into the woman that I am today, I want to say no. They weren't positive at all. What
were they like?
Just like them. Just like them. It was just, I look back, I want to make this very clear. I don't remember much of my childhood because I believe that I blocked out a lot of my childhood.
Right, trauma, yeah.
Yes. So it's not that I don't want to open up to people when they ask me those questions, but I'm pretty sure they relate and they know that some things. So I want to make sure that they know it's not that you're not normal. It's the fact that you block out a lot of things that come with pain. And unfortunately, when you do block out a lot of things that come with pain, those good memories go with it. And the little things that I do remember here and there was, I remember that we had some fun events. I just remember drinking and parties and inappropriate music now that, of course, I can classify as inappropriate for a child to even listen to. But I honestly want to speak in the defense now that I know who I am. And, I know that they didn't know no better.
Right. Yeah, I somewhat know the culture you grew up with because I worked partly for a rock station, partly for a Spanish station in Coachella. And I saw some things about machismo there a little bit. I have also a huge respect for the culture. And I have a huge respect for a lot of the people I work with. But there was some of them were a little bit more like that. And in Coachella, there are a lot of Mexican culture in Coachella. You can actually eat real Mexican food there. Yes. So I guess you somehow decided to go into the military, but where did that come from? Do you remember? Why were you compelled to do that? Because that's definitely a very strong thing to do. I know because my son is now a captain in the Air Force. He's a clinical psychologist, in fact, who deals with trauma, anxiety, depression, and all those things. So I know, and I didn't expect him to do that. If you can believe this or not, I trained my kids to be child actors, and ultimately they had their own radio show. We actually had several trials before that, But and I expected my daughter to be a singer, and and she she turned out to be a top salesperson, and that was really strange too, because I had never dreamed that that's what she would do, because I was so fixated on them doing what I wanted, and it was a great disappointment to me and a lesson to me when they did something else, and that was really important to me as growing as a parent.
Right. But that's amazing that you actually seen something positive and try to direct them somewhere where you positive.
Yeah, and they had their problems because of where they grew up. Some serious problems with the culture in that area in Palm Springs. So I don't know about being I suppose I wasn't the greatest parent in the world, but I did have a positive goal. But I did have to take my son out of school, out of high school. I had to beg him to get out of high school where he was failing because he wasn't going to school. He wasn't going to school, on time and so forth for various reasons. And he suddenly became like a top student in junior college, and then moved on and throughout to get his PhD and everything.
Oh, wow.
And he went into the military. But he went into the military because he wanted to help the soldiers, because he had met some soldiers on a mission he had in Argentina, and he just decided that he wanted to help our soldiers. And that's what he did. He worked in VA hospitals as an intern, so to speak, and then when he graduated and joined the military, now he's working with the real deal.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing.
So tell me about why you went into the military.
So when I went into the military, I had a lot of issues, of course. Pain comes issues. With issues come numbness. With numbness comes drugs. With drugs comes, going down the wrong path. At the moment, of course, I was associated with the wrong people. At that time frame, I was a stripper.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I was a stripper. And I had this angel to this day. We're still friends. And she wanted to go to the military. And I was like, wait a second, you're going to leave me behind. At that time frame, I had 2 children. I was only 18. I had 2 children. I was a stripper. And I was like, okay, well, I want to go. Now, when I decided to go, it's funny how faith works out. She signed up. I signed up. She got in a car accident where she kind of messed up her back, but she didn't. But if you go into the military, you can have nothing in your record that you messed up your back, your knee, anything, because you just don't qualify no more.
Right. Yeah.
So she ended up staying and I ended up going. So it was funny how that worked out. And that's how I ended up in the military. And when I tell you the military turned my life around completely, it turned it in a positive way and in a negative way.
Well, listen, Angie, we have to take a break now. And I'm really excited to hear the next part of the story. But we'll be back in just a couple of minutes. Is that okay?
Perfectly fine.
Thank you. This is Johnny Bluestar, CEO of New Galaxy Enterprises, a media content development company. One of the most important positioning strategies in this world of social media is the profile. This could be, of course, a profile on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter, speaking of the most popular. But profiles are also used in personal and business websites, prospectuses, brochures, authors' bios for books and publisher presentations on record albums and film investment presentations. We've been involved in these kinds of content and would be happy to help you put your best foot forward. To learn more about New Galaxy, see samples of our work, or talk to us about your project, please go to www.newgalaxyenterprises.com and fill out the contact form. The Spy Files is another riveting component of Kenneth Eads' Brent Marks legal thriller series. When Michael Fine, a young journalist, asked Brent Marks to assist him in a Freedom of Information request, classified documents are accidentally released to him by the FBI. When they're not returned, there's big legal trouble afoot for him and for his attorney, who are facing criminal prosecution. The story, however, starts off with a murder. Here's an excerpt.
The Spy Files by Kenneth Eade. Read by Maxwell Zener. When Chan approached the lab, he could see that the lights were on. That's strange. I'm sure I turned them off. Maybe it's the janitor. He unlocked the lab door and startled the man who was sitting at his station. Chan's monitor was illuminated. "What are you doing there?" The man rose from his seat and looked to his right and then to his left, deciding whether to run or stand his ground. Chan approached him. "I'm calling security. You shouldn't be here. Just back off, Chinaman, and I won't have to hurt you." Chan put his right hand on his stun gun, searching for the nerve. With his left hand, he picked up the phone and started to punch in the number for security with his thumb. "Put it down, Chinaman." Chan looked up to see the man pointing a gun right at him. He set down the phone slowly. "You're going to shoot me? Just walk away and nobody gets hurt. Just walk away. You didn't see anything." Chan took 2 paces back. He bent to pick up his briefcase. "Leave it. Just keep moving." Chan let go of the handle of the briefcase. The man approached him slowly. Chan took another 2 steps back, and the man took several steps forward. Chan put his hand on the door, and the man gently pushed him through it. Taking his chance, Chan rotated, slammed the taser against the man's body, and let it rip. The man dropped the gun and staggered back, bracing himself against a table. Chan came back into the lab and lunged for his briefcase. With a surge of energy and anger, the man tackled Chan, slamming him back against a lab table. Chan fell hard, hitting his head. Chan lay there still. The man panicked and felt his carotid artery. There was no pulse. "Oh, shit. What a mess." He pulled his cell phone out of his pocket. From The Spy Files by Kenneth Eade. Read by Maxwell Zener.
There's no doubt that forgiveness and reconciliation should often be a part of anyone's life journey. The question is when and how. If it is going to happen, it should be at the right time. This is a song whose lyrics I created for a wonderful melody composed by Edgar Ahrens and beautifully sung by Patricia Welch.
The moon hangs low in the sky. I'm back again on this path. I scatter petals
So, Angie, we were talking about how you joined the military and why you joined, and that the military had changed your life very well in a good direction and perhaps in a negative direction.
Yes, so this is a situation where I like to call it sweet and sour.
Yes, okay.
You know, when I went in, of course, I had a lot of anger issues, but because due to the fact that financially, I've never in my lifetime seen the check $4,000 or higher made in an honest way. If I can add that, right? In an honest way. And one of their things is there's no fighting. And when I was growing up, that's all I knew. So in a positive way, they build character into me on, human beings speak. We're not animals. We don't have to fight. We don't have to kill each other. We don't have to, act like animals do. There's a uniform. There's procedures. There's things that I've never had in my lifetime.
Right.
So now I go into this beautiful military and I'm like, wow, there's structure in life. I get to travel the world. I get to see the world. And yes, it was something amazing for a person maybe at 20. But when I was going into the camp, I was crying. I was crying, and I was hurting for 4 years. Now, why would I be crying and hurting?
I don't know.
Because I was a mother.
Oh, where were your kids?
I had to give up full custody.
Really?
Physical, yes. Physical and legal because I was a single mother.
Wow. Who did you give it to?
We want to say great-grandmother. She was not my great-grandmother by blood, but somebody that I knew that took care of me at the moment very well.
Oh, good. So were they taken care of?
I want to say they were fed. They were fed.
Oh, okay.
They were fed. They were taken care of. And of course, every cycle repeats itself. And it's funny how it repeats itself because I didn't want to leave them with my parents. My dad, of course, at the moment didn't understand, or he probably kind of did, but I didn't want to put them back in an environment where I grew up with my stepmother and my dad because of the memories and the traumas that I had.
Right.
But cycles repeat themselves. And it hurt me because they repeated themselves with somebody that I thought it wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
And I don't think some people are aware of that sometimes, that what we do, we will pay. What we, they call it generational cursings or blessings, I believe.
Yeah, right.
Yes. So it hurt because I've did everything that I could have. I joined the military. I served my country proudly. And while I'm serving, it's hurting me, but I'm there's more to it, right? You go, I'm a woman into the military in a man's world.
Yeah.
I become a machinist mate.
I noticed that. Very specific type of work and very probably complex.
Yes. So for very few people that don't know what that is, I'm pretty sure everybody's seen the movie Titanic. And the people from the boat, from the bottom of the boat that you've seen for a couple of seconds, throwing the coal in the bottom of the boat to make the boat going, where it's hot, that's what I used to do. So being in the military, of course, being a woman, I got to experience sexual harassment. I got to experience how, because they're higher ranked than you, they could just sweep it under the rug and it never happened. You did it because we said that you did it. And I was bamboozled. It was like it was like the street life being open to me in an organized way, if it makes sense.
Yeah.
So it hurt because I was very naive. Now, of course, I love my country. I've served my country proudly. But I knew that I had to get out because I was a mother. And I didn't want to repeat the cycle that my mom did. So, yes.
You said your mom. Were you talking about your stepmom or your real mom?
My biological mother.
And without saying anything that's too sensitive, how did you find her again?
I found her again through Facebook Messenger.
Oh, no, really?
Yes.
You knew her name or something?
Yes, I did.
Wow.
Long story short, my mom.
So there's some useful thing for Facebook anyway, at least one thing.
Yes, right. So I knew her, but she never reached out. I knew little things about her.
How old are your children now?
They are very healthy, extremely smart. I'm extremely blessed. My daughter, she's the oldest. She's 16. My son, he's 14. And then our baby is 7.
Well, that's certainly... I'm just speaking from my point of view. The first two, the older ones, that's a challenging time. sometimes. I guess with your background, maybe you know how to handle things better than I did. But I had a lot of surprises back then.
Yes, yes. I think what honestly helped me is just because, of course, of my calling. So I want to say that I got like little insight that other people couldn't
Yes.
get. Yes. And then I get to experience flesh and blood, all the dark side of it. Every single dark side event you could think of. That's what I tell my children. I feel bad for them sometimes because I tell them, like, before you guys even think about doing it, I know the signs that it takes. I know what you're thinking. I know what you're hurting, or I know what you're feeling. So by the time you think you're about to make that left, I'm already there looking at you like, yeah, you thought.
Well, you know, at some point, you made a decision to really help people whose families were broken, I guess, right? Who were growing up in difficulties. And still, that's what you kind of do for a living, is it not?
Yes, it is what I do for a living. Yes, that is my calling. Yes, that is what I'm very happy to serve and do. And it's come a long way. I just love seeing families get that aha moment.
So tell us a little bit about the transition. You're out of the military. You tried to get back your children at that point. Was that immediate or did it take a while?
That was the most painful part as well. That took a while because the person didn't want to give me my children back.
Wow.
So now the courts, because of, I'm pretty sure what everybody knows, we went back. People came back from war and they were giving them back their children, and children ended up getting abused. So now, even though you served the military back in the days, you just say, I'm back. You sign some paperwork and you get your children back. But because of the 9/11 issues, all the issues that soldiers had and probably still have, they ended up hurting children and wives and sometimes husbands. So now I'm stuck in this world where I did this for my children, first of all, my country. And now I'm sitting here looking at a judge in his face, crying for a whole year. All I wanted to do was hold my children. I got out of the military with honorable awards. I've never been in captain's mast, any of that. So it was very painful for me, especially when I have to see my children and they're crying and I can't take them home with me.
Oh my God, that is terrible. That is terrible. We have a situation, I think, with that whole culture, that whole culture is now being dismantled in a way, a lot of things by the top, by the very top of our country. You have a lot of suicide in the military now. And
Yes.
you've got a lot of PTSD and all kinds of anxiety and all kinds of physical problems.
Yes.
And I think it's because of the culture that this government is coming from now.
Yes.
So tell me, okay, so you're back and you're going through this struggle, but you're also trying to decide what you want to do with the rest of your life, right? So
Right.
How did you come to your conclusion? What was the next transition?
So my next transition, once I got my children back, since I was a little girl, I always knew. Now, listen to this, John, very carefully.
Okay.
I always knew I was going to be somebody very extremely important. I never knew how. I never knew why. I just knew that I was. And I thought that I was supposed to be in the law enforcement and I was supposed to bring down this big drug lord and many of them, that I was going to be known. So I went and got my criminal justice bachelor's degree. And I'm super excited, super pumped. I'm like, yes. So my last 2 classes, I want to say, 3 classes, I get my calling. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so happy, God. Thank you. You brought me
you
on
have
my
to
way.
explain that more. You're just saying, I got my call, and explain what that actually means. What happened?
Right. So as I am crying, and before I'm done with 3 classes, I just hear a clear voice tell me, oh, I'm so proud of you. But that's not it.
Wow. Okay.
And I'm like, okay. What do you mean that's not it? That's not it. I'm proud of you, but that's not it. And it was like, why do you think you still feel the pain, the symptoms, everything the way you do? Why do you think I brought you out through so much untouched? And I was like, okay, why? Because you're the one. The one for what? You are the one who's going to change a lot of souls, but you're going to come from a different point of view. You're going to know what it is to be enslaved and be free. And you can only a person that's been enslaved and can be free can tell you exactly what you're about to experience from the beginning all the way to
Yeah.
a lot of people.
It's amazing. Yeah.
A lot of people can speak, a lot of people can say, but not too many can touch.
Well, Angie, recently I've really been speaking to a lot of people in the transformation business, mostly not doing what you're doing. Mm-hmm. But in many cases, something has happened to them. They've had a trauma, like, for instance, their house was burned down and they were injured, or they were drunk and they did something, maybe another kind of accident. Mm-hmm. And these people are energized to spend their time trying to address that need.
Yes.
Unfortunately, the need that you're addressing is very toxic and very large.
Yes. And very scary, if I have to say, because, of course, I was hurt by human beings in my lifetime. And now here comes my calling. And the people that have hurt you, people I've associated pain with people, now I want you to go out there and help them. Now, it's not that I didn't want to. It's the fact that I, for so many years, have covered myself from them because I just didn't want to get hurt no more.
Listen, Angie, we have to go for another couple of minutes, and we'll be right back, okay?
Yes.
My company, New Galaxy Enterprises, is a California corporation specializing in the creation of media and promotional content. We are focused on original, innovative projects that are good for humanity. These projects could be nonfiction books or novels, fictional screenplays or documentary content, websites and website content, commercial advertising content for print, audio, or video products on the internet, television, or radio, musical scores for advertising, television, or film, video, audio editing, etc. We want to promote products and projects that support the environment, encourage a healthy experience in living, developing, nurturing, and useful technology, and offering platforms for positive, socially constructive entertainment or informative, transformative media. Our experience in creating a variety of products like this is rather vast, and we offer client-based and collaborative products, as well as the opportunity of active investors to join us in the creation and promotion of proprietary products, some of which are in latter stages of development. For more information, go to www.newgalaxyenterprises.com. That's www.newgalaxyenterprises.com. If you're interested in talking to us, just fill out the contact sheet and we will get back with you. Dr. Hugo Rodier is a medical doctor trained in nutritional medicine with a special interest in intestinal disorders. You may schedule a consult via Skype or telephone by calling 801-898-3317 or via email by accessing his website, hugorodier.com. HUGORODIER.com. No insurance accepted, but a form is available to apply for reimbursement from your insurance, except for Medicare. Dr. Rodier speaks English, French, and Spanish. Here's an homage to Undying Love. I wrote the lyrics, Edgar Ahrens wrote the song, Patricia Welch performs the first song we wrote in the style we call neoclassique. It is called Love Never Withers.
Its great shrieks make me cry. I remember the joyous gleam that it stole from my eyes. I remember that day when the wind swept away life's dear comfort and warmth on that bitter autumn day. Maple leaves, cruel and queer, as we slid through the night to the carousel's ruckus dance, far from destiny's light. Silly children we played, but forgot how to pray. We were trapped in ourselves, and we couldn't get away. Memory haunts me in the shadows of sleep. The promise we buried, we swore we would keep. A passion that lives in the world without end. My love, we can't fail this promise again, again. Maple leaves curl and quiver, and flame in the air. Their rude act of dying paints red brown everywhere. But I know harsh enchantment can't turn real love astray, because love never withers. Love never withers. Love never withers away.
We're back on the air with Angie F.A.T.E, and she's been discussing her transition from the military to getting back her kids and trying to find her career. And she finally received a calling from another level that kind of took her off track. How would you describe that again?
So, okay, when we say another level, I want to make people very clear that I do believe in a God. So it's my God. How did that? So as like I was mentioning earlier, I had this thing where, of course, one, public speaking is the second thing that most human beings fear? I know the first one is death, and then the second one is speaking. So I was like, oh my God, wait, what? Me? I don't even know how to speak English or Spanish properly. So yes, I was in this ball of confusion of faith. I still did not know who God was. I know there was a God, but I didn't know the extent that he loved and cared for me. So as I'm hearing my calling, now I'm learning about him. It wasn't like I knew of him first. I was like, okay, wait, I like that voice. I want to know more about you. So I started reading the Bible. I started going through a lot of things. And a lot of people have this fear where they don't feel they're qualified. The way you know when it's a calling is a passion within inside. It's a knowledge that you have. And this could come from you hearing the news or hearing anything or hearing psychiatrists. Oh, this is the reason why this happens and this is the cause and effect. Now, I can tell you that. And I can also tell you that I've never read a psychology book, really, from the front to the end of the book in my life.
Well, maybe you can count that as great luck.
Right. So it comes with, I'm pretty sure a lot of people, and I'm pretty sure you could relate, Johnny, with some wisdom that sometimes you're amazed on how you know things, when you know things, why you know things. You just know. And I have read this book of this amazing baseball player, and it's on the book of Bling. And it was talking about he always knew when he was going to strike out. He always knew when he was going to make a home run before he even hit the ball. It was seeing the ball how it curved. And that's how my knowledge came. That's how it came. I didn't know how. I didn't know why. Well, I knew why, but I didn't know. It feels like a big overload. And you can't sleep. You have to write it down. You have to speak it into your phone. I had to download these amps where it had like the little voice recordings. I couldn't sleep because I had to get it out. write it down or put it somewhere.
So this wasn't just a couple of sentences. This was a more continual guidance?
Oh my God, I had videos upon videos upon videos. Yes.
So you're saying you sort of presented what this voice was saying to you on these videos? Is that what you're saying?
Guidance. And from my experience, like I tell a lot of people, I was dead on the inside. I was only breathing. So from just guidance, I'm able to see a lot. Like I want to explain it like this. You know how when a blind person, they know where they're going, they know how they're at, they hear noises, they know everything, correct? And there's some people that could regain their vision. Now, when they regain their vision, nothing's changed but the color. So with me, nothing changed, only the color. I didn't just see black. I seen color. I seen the flowers were red, green, blue. I seen the earth differently. I felt like I was in heaven.
Mm-hmm. I understand that.
So that's how I can relate it to.
So besides, if I may say so, besides actually being guided, you felt more in the spirit. And you felt that part of you was a part of this being that was communicating with you.
Yes, yes.
You had a sort of a different level of consciousness, a spiritual consciousness.
Yes, and with that, a lot of people. Now, I have to be very sure that people understand that I wasn't a saint at the moment when all this happened. I wasn't going to church. I wasn't doing anything. Now, there was a transformation that happened with me at that moment. I had to get rid of my pride, my ego, everything that the world had built me to in order for me to survive. I was 14 when I was in the streets. So I had to get rid of everything in order for me to serve to a whole nother potential level. And that took a couple of years for me to get rid of.
There's a saying that is quoted in, I think, a book by Uspensky, who wrote about the teachings of Gurdjieff. It was supposed to be an ancient saying. It was, in order to be reborn, you have to die. But in order to die, you first must awake.
Yes, so true. And it's such a big, painful process because right when you're getting rid of all that the world made you of to survive, you are literally walking on the unknown. But when you come out of that, to this day, I'm still becoming humble. I honestly, Johnny, could tell you, when you said what you said in the beginning of this interview, it humbled me even more. It humbles me to know a lot of things, and I'm so grateful. Now, people don't recognize me. People, to this day see me and they see the old me. And it's okay, because I'm going to be honest with you, Johnny. Sometimes my husband don't even recognize me. He's looking at me like, huh? And I sleep right next to him. And he's like, you okay?
I was thinking that maybe my wife has more shock because she does recognize me. But anyway, something like that. So you see, when I embarked on this journey, seeking out transformational speakers and coaches, it was because I am sort of on a mission to see things transformed in a massive way. And I kind of felt that maybe if I did this, I'd run into people who were called. and all kinds of different people coming from different places. But these are powerful people, because some of these people, deal with hundreds, if not thousands of people, addressing them in speeches. And then a lot of that is propped up with their interpersonal work with people. So they really know a lot about what they're doing in their specific areas. And maybe in a certain sense, we're all talking about that higher power touching us, whatever you want to call it. And beginning at a certain point, not only do you realize its presence or his presence, whatever, but that it's guiding you. It's actually helping you, that there's actually a spiritual path and you grow in it. It's not like you're just going to church and hearing a sermon once a week. You are continually under guidance. And sometimes I think, Angie, that the guidance stops because you've been told to do something and you have to learn how to do it. You have to learn how to handle, say, a certain kind of negativity or fear. And so you're sort of left alone in the desert. And you have to contend with some kind of dragon yourself to show that you can deal with it. Because, in other words, your selfhood is being perfected by that higher power. You're becoming more and more like that higher power in his image.
Now, I like to call those, which I'm pretty sure you know, tests, right? He tells you
exactly.
you have to test everything. Yes.
And they're big tests. I mean,
Oof.
yeah,
Oof.
I mean, I've had a lot of tests, and I am so thankful that I'm still here. I had, my life has been threatened with illness several times. I mean, where I thought I was probably going to die. And there were spiritual factors that brought me out of it, and a lot of things. And I thought when I was younger that I had found my destiny, because I thought I was going to be a dramatic poet. In other words, I was actually going to write verse plays in, a high-level verse plays. And I'm not going to go into the details, but the point is that was when I was 17 and 18. And by that time, I could write sonnets. I could write all kinds of things. And that evolved into a completely different thing. I've never given up what I wanted to do exactly. I've written a lot of screenplays and stuff, but my mission is different. I would never have realized it until fairly recently. And that also evolved. It seeming like by accident, and suddenly I see that I'm there. See what I mean?
Yes.
So I guess you went back to school, right? At that point where you had decided, or had you already graduated from the criminal justice, or you were almost graduating, but that was your bachelor's of science, or was that master's?
Yes. Yeah, that was my bachelor's. Then, of course, when I got this calling, I had no clue anything about business. No clue. But the vision comes first. Your vision comes first. And all I knew was what I seen, and I knew what I seen, and I knew that I had no clue on how to handle business or money. So, of course, I had to go for my master's in business, which is my MBA. So I was like, okay, and I'm being funny, but I was like, okay, I hope he doesn't change his mind this time, But I knew that was it. But yes, I went back and got my MBA, and I want to tell people that it's possible. It's possible. I went through elementary school, through middle school, getting F's and D's and maybe an A in PE,
Yeah.
But I dropped out of high school. I was pregnant young. I went to adult school, and it's all possible. It's all possible.
Well, I think that if anything else, besides your formal education, you had an education in learning who you were.
Yes, and that was it's a very hard experience. I'm pretty sure a lot of us experience that, and that's why some of us don't get out of a hole that we're stuck in, because it's very painful. You have to really reach in and get everything out, all the stuff that does not serve you. And some people use that as crutches. Some people don't even know that they're using it. It takes a lot of effort to come out in a positive way and use what you went through in a positive way and not let it use you.
Well, Angie, we're going to have to go now. Maybe you could quickly, I know we haven't gotten much as to what you do, but just tell them sort of how to get in touch with you and how you could help them if they have the right kind of situation.
So now I am always everywhere. Angie F.A.T.E. You can find me in all my websites, YouTube. It's simple. If you see me for my social media, it's Angie F.A.T.E. If you see me you want to go into the website, it's www.angiefate.com. Everything stays the same.
So you're not that hard to find?
Oh, no, not at all. I never was, Johnny. I never was.
Well, I found you on LinkedIn, and that's a really good social network to find you into.
Yes, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, yes.
And do you want to give some kind of an email?
Email management. The email best one to find me at is management@angiefate.com.
Management@angiefate.com. Well, we'll see you soon, because there's going to be a part 2 to this program. I know that. That's fated.
Yes, Johnny. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
You're quite welcome. The Coalition is a unique project designed to empower its members both individually and collectively. Besides individual empowerment, its broader focus is on the restoration, protection, and enhancement of citizen and human rights throughout the world through the aid of its members. As this project is centered in the United States, our first task is to create a website and social network infrastructure to promote collective efforts to take back our rightful control as citizens over our government as designed by our founding fathers. Although we must begin with the social network restricted to United States citizens, The organization will also host a global dialogue for the discussion of human rights by citizens of democratic nations throughout the world. If you're interested, please check us out in the GoFundMe.com website, entering in the search field the Coalition for Planetary Empowerment. That is, go to GoFundMe.com and enter in the search field the Coalition for Planetary Empowerment. Thank you for joining us today to take a glimpse into the lives, stories, and processes of men and women whose mission is to effect positive transformation in the individuals that seek their help and for the world that will benefit from that positive transformation. Thank you for joining us again to gain more understanding of the opportunities for all of us, every one of us, to find that higher ground which brings us understanding, safety, and a sense of living a life of real fulfillment and purpose.